All right, everyone. Welcome to episode number 4, the Draft Recap Show. Episode number 4 of the Mafia Members Podcast. Podcast for the Buffalo Bills Mafia by the Buffalo Bills Mafia. Obviously, got lots to talk about today with the draft happening over the weekend. So we'll dive into that. I was sick over the weekend, so I couldn't put out much content during the draft. So, kind of a really crappy day to be weekend to get sick, but we're fighting through it. So yeah, we'll dive into the draft. We'll take a look at their picks and what they did and my thoughts on it, and then we'll look at kind of some of the stuff that I got wrong, some of the stuff that I got right, and yeah, we'll go from there. So let's get into it.
Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. So let's just hop right into it. So obviously, I feel like I'm like most Bills fans. Watching the first round on Thursday night, I was absolutely livid. Couldn't think that the draft was going worse. Sat around, waited. Nothing was happening, which we expected because we knew our pick was 28. But as unlikely as it was when the Bears were picking at 9, I feel like there's a small portion of us that were like, oh, okay, maybe there's a chance that we can hop up and to get a Dunze. Maybe, that's kind of what was keeping you there, and then that doesn't happen. Okay, so then you get into the teens, and you're like, BTJ's still sitting there. Maybe we make a move, and then you're like, obviously that doesn't happen. So you're still sitting there on the edge of your seat, waiting, hoping for something to happen. Then comes the Jaguars at 22, and you know that this is the time for Big Baller Bean to make a move. No, not happening. Doesn't happen. And guess who gets taken? Brian Thomas Jr. I feel like that was the pick that everybody was hoping for. Everybody thought it was going to end up in Buffalo. Wasn't I guess just wasn't meant to be. He was definitely the pick that I wanted. Without, I don't watch much college football, but kind of what you're expecting Buffalo to do, what they need, and how you hear people talking about this guy. You're like, that's it. That's exactly what we need. So that doesn't happen. You're like, okay, well, we'll still get Adonai Mitchell at 28, or maybe he goes and we'll still have Xavier Legette. We'll still get one of those two guys in the first round. And I swear I was sitting down watching, waiting for the pick to come in. And they like flashed back to the panel right as it was the Bills pick, and it was like updated on the jumbotron and said like Kansas City is on the clock, and I was like, in the back of my head, I'm just waiting for Rich Eisen to say like, oh, the pick is traded, and I'm like, what is going on? What are we doing? Why did we trade out? Anyways, I was like, well, it's not going to be that bad. We're not going to trade with our biggest rival or anything like that. We're not going to give them a speedy outside wide receiver threat that we've been looking for. And lo and behold, of course, it goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they take Xavier Worthy. Of course, the world is crashing. But we only had to fall back 4 spots to get into the for the 30. Into the 32nd pick. You're like, okay, boom, perfect. We'll get Legette. We'll get Adonai. not the end of the world. We still get our needs met, and it's all good. Maybe Xavier Worthy wasn't our guy, or not who being pictured that he wanted to take. So fine, perfect. Make a trade, pick up a couple more draft pieces, and away we go. Nope, didn't happen again. Again, we were there at 32, traded with Carolina. And who do they take? Xavier Legette. So those are three of the possible four wide receivers that Buffalo was going to take, or three of the five that the Bills were going to take. So yeah, went to bed Thursday night very, very pissed off. I feel like that's kind of the sentiment in Bills Mafia world. No one was too thrilled. The saving grace was that Adonai Mitchell was still on the board. So we're like, okay, traded completely out of the first round, and we'll still get our guy Adonai Mitchell because he fell out of the first round too. So we're like, okay, perfect. That'll be fine. Then comes a Friday night, and we're first pick in the second round, and I shit you not, I was sitting there on the edge of my seat. I had dinner plans to go to on Friday, and I was late showing up to them, but was sitting there on the edge of my seat being like, okay, here's our chance. We're going to go get Adonai Mitchell. All will be good. I looked over at my girlfriend and I said, I'm ready to go. I just want to pick. If the name Adonai Mitchell doesn't pop up on the screen, then we got problems. Lo and behold, what name pops up? Keon Coleman. So it was kind of a disaster. In the moment, it felt like a disaster. In the moment, it felt like, yes, the sky had fallen and all was not well for the Bills. So anyways, they ended up going with Keon Coleman. I didn't know much about him. Knew he was a big body, and he didn't really perform that well at the combine from what I heard. Not that he didn't perform well. I guess he just had kind of like a slower 40 time. All the other stuff he still seemed good with, like his route running and hands and everything like that was still good. His size was still good, but ran a slower than expected 40 time, which at the end of the day, not that big of a deal. If you have one bad, I'm sure there's lots going through your head as a kid in college, just trying to perform for your job. And so maybe he didn't perform as well. And I'm sure if you asked him, I'm sure he'd say he didn't perform as well as he would have wanted to. His pro day at FSU, his 40 time was much better on his pro day. So, and his all the clips I've seen of him, his in-game speed is a lot better. So I was a little underwhelmed with the pick. If you would have asked me on, Friday evening how the Bills draft went, I would have given it an F, because this is not what we wanted, this is not what we needed, this is not what we should have done, and being ruined the 2024 season for us. But after watching him, after seeing some clips of him, and after seeing him in his press conferences and seeing his vibes are just immaculate. That's exactly the kind of guy you want to bring into Buffalo. Good energy, very chill, very funny, very just, kind of a guy that looks like will be friends, and they can kind of have a good time in the locker room with Josh Allen. It looks like him and Josh Allen would get along very well. It was the guy Josh Allen wanted, apparently. As much as I don't like players making those kind of decisions, I'm all right with it. When it comes to needing that quarterback wide receiver kind of friendship, we saw what can happen when they're not on the same page and Allen and Diggs are bickering at each other, and Allen throws a perfect dot right over shoulder, right into the hands, and Stephon Diggs comes up going like this. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. We need guys that are just out there having fun, and that's exactly what Keon Coleman looks like. Looks like he'll be he'll bring to the table, and from everything that I've seen, looks like he's a good player. So my opinions on the draft definitely changed. Then we got our second pick in pick 60 in the second round. Our second pick was Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop, they seem to be, like, from watching the panel's reaction and hearing what some of the experts were saying, seems to be like the most NFL ready guy, and kind of has a more defined role, like, or a more known role, like the Cooper DeJean. No one knows if can he play corner? Will he play safety? Can he keep up with the NFL? Not what they were saying about Cole Bishop at all. Very much NFL ready. Very much a safety. Very much fills a need for the Bills. We saw the clips on draft day of being in the draft room with everybody, and as soon as I think it was Houston was in front of them, and they said as soon as Houston pick is in, you see Bean giving the old fist bump, and he's like, "Get Cole Bishop on the phone right now." So you knew that was Bean's guy. That's someone that he wanted to. That's someone that he wanted to get. That obviously addresses a need that we have with losing Poyer and Micah Hyde. And yeah, it was a pick I was like, again, having to see a little bit more of tape of the player. Definitely a guy that we're excited to have on the team. Definitely fills a need. Definitely looks like he'll be a day one contributor to the team, which is kind of exactly what we're looking for. Like we said in the last episode, this was like a retool. We're not rebuilding, so we need guys who can come in and make an impact right away. So loved that Cole Bishop pick. Obviously, Kincaid was vouching for him since they both went to the same university, played with each other, so he'll have some familiarity there. He'll have a guy on his team who he can, who can kind of show him the ropes and kind of be on his side, help him get into the swing of things, and so yeah, love the pick all around. Then next we drafted. We're not going to get too deep into the into kind of some of the later round picks, although I think they did do good of getting some, filling out some pieces, getting some depth. They got a couple nice little gems in the end, and the undrafted free agents. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive too much into Daquan Hardy or Travis Clayton. Like, I just don't know too much about it, so I'm not gonna talk to it. But we'll go through all the picks anyways. Then we one of the trades we made was for a third round pick, so we were able to pick up Dwayne Carter, the defensive tackle. So everything sounds like that's exactly what we were looking. Sorry, still dealing with that cold a little bit there. Everything seems like that's exactly what we were looking for on the defensive line. Everybody says he seems like a great leader. He's an absolute dog. Going to get after the quarterback, like good run stopper. All those kinds of things that you need. I think most importantly from him is just that he just seems like he's a beast. He just seems like he's going to really, impact the kind of the defensive line unit and group, and kind of give us a little bit of a swagger and an attitude and a nastiness, and like all the kinds of things that you want to have coming from that position. And then came round 4. This is where I kind of started to kind of stop really paying attention to what everybody was doing, and I was kind of just focusing and paying attention only when the Bills were drafting. Round 3 comes along, or sorry, round 4 comes along, pick number 128, and we get running back out of Kentucky, Ray Davis. Again, looks like he looks like he's going to be a really nice second option out of that backfield. Going to give James Cook kind of the help that he needs. He's a little bit undersized, but he set tons of records in Kentucky. He had I think there's some things that he gets slept on for him. He was not. He had like in his career at Kentucky, he had like 21 receiving touchdowns. So I think people are underestimating his hands coming out of the backfield. Ran a very quick 40 time. So I think people aren't necessarily giving him the credit for the speed necessarily. They kind of think of him as like this this kind of like just going to be a third down back option kind of guy, but it seems like he's got quite a bit of skill. Seems like he's going to really help out James Cook, giving James whenever James Cook needs a breather, or whatever the case may be. We're not taking too far of a step back with when we ground and pound it with Ray Davis. And then the last kind of pick that we'll touch on there is pick our 5th round pick. We ended up getting with all the trades and what we already had in the stock room. We ended up getting 3 fifth round draft picks. And the first one was pick number 141, and that was Cedric Van Pran Granger. Cedric Van Pran Granger. And I was watching TV, watching the pick happen on TV, and they flash his stats. They're showing kind of his highlight reel, and they give you kind of what he's good at, and kind of what his attributes are, pros and cons of him, or whatever the case may be. And one of them was plays center only, as one of his cons, or one of the knocks against him. And in my head, immediately I was like, oh, okay, perfect. So this is exactly what we're looking for. Oh, awesome. Like that's not bad. Not bad for the Bills. We just lost him. It's more if he's good enough, we just swap him one for one, and away we go. So I didn't hate the pick. If he's by all accounts, he was a very good at playing center. Like I said, the only knock against him was that he couldn't transition over to play guard if he needed to. And luckily, the Bills only have guards, and we're looking for someone to fill in the center role. He's an absolute unit. He's absolutely massive. They say he's very good in pass protection, very aggressive in run blocking. Obviously, playing the center position, he'll have to worry or learn very quickly the offense. If he's going to be playing, if he's going to be starting center, he's going to have to be able to be out there and calling out all the plays, calling out all the audibles, handing everybody their assignments, and that can be a lot to ask for a rookie. So maybe it is something that we look to someone who's currently on the team who can fill in that role for a little while until he's fully ready to play, or maybe he shows out in training camp and seems like he's got a full grasp on everything. Hopefully he's already got a copy of the playbook. Hopefully he's already got his head down, studying, and just trying to get as familiar as he can with what's going on with the team. And if he's doing that, that's really all you can ask for. So yeah, then we'll just read out the last couple picks here. 5th round pick, Edifwan Olafosio. Sorry, I know I said that one wrong. Linebacker, we got Javon Solomon, an edge. Like we said, Bean loves his edge rushers, so he was able to get one in round 5. Pick 168 was Javon Solomon. Round 6, pick 204 was Tylen Grable. Round 6, pick 219, Daquan Hardy, a corner. Never a bad idea to add to that space. Round 7, pick 221, Travis Clayton. He's from the international player pathway, which was pretty cool to see. Nice to see the Brits getting after it. Nice to see the the Bills Mafia over in the UK. So yeah, it was overall I'd say the draft. I'm putting the draft at about a B minus. I think not moving up like what I said in the for what I think they should have done. I think they should have traded for one of the San Fran wide receivers first and foremost, and then I think they should have drafted. That's what I had said. I think they should trade for Ayuk and then draft the best available defensive back. So, but they didn't. So obviously, I think I gave them the B minus because they probably could have stuck at 28, drafted Leggett. I don't know what the reason why everybody was why nobody was going after Adonai Mitchell. Maybe it was those reports, but who knows? I think if you were going to stay at 28, you definitely should have gotten Leggett. But that's just me. I feel like Keon Coleman looks like he's going to be great, but I think he's just maybe a touch slower version of Leggett. So I think if we would have done that, that bumps us up maybe into the B plus category. In order to get an A or an A plus, I feel like we would have needed to trade for Ayuk or Debo, and then still get a Leggett or a Worthy or a Mitchell or someone like that. But you know, based on seeing the reaction and seeing the players and seeing everything, I'm very excited to see how Keon Coleman will do. Watching him in that press conference over the weekend, and seeing how excited he was to be in the Bills facility. I think maybe this time next year we'll be grading this draft a little bit differently, and maybe it will be an A plus based on just the vibes I'm getting off of this Coleman character. He's definitely a character. So yeah, I think maybe this time next year we'll look at it a little bit differently. But for now, it's a B, maybe a B minus. You see lots of people on Twitter and on ESPN and all those daytime sports talk shows. Lots of them are giving the Bills an A minus rating, but they're just looking at how well, like, because we got lots of that depth that we were looking for. We filled lots of the holes, so that's good. But I just don't. We didn't do it with the right players. That's what I thought initially. We didn't do it with the players that I wanted to do it with, so that knocked me. That's why I kind of knocked down my rating there a little bit. But anyways, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll come back with a little bit more draft talk, and then we'll get into the what I got right versus what I got wrong, and then we'll close it for the week. And yeah, so we'll be right back. And we're back for our final little segment here, just to wrap up the episode. So like we were saying, I think overall the Bills did okay. Kind of, nothing great, but they didn't fail us either. So, being said, he tried to move up for that. For into that 22nd area to try and trade up for a different wide receiver. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is true, and the asking price was just too high for what he wanted to do, and he ended up still doing pretty good on this draft, despite not getting the guy that he wanted, or the position that he wanted. He still pulled off a pretty good draft. Said he tried to move up to get BTJ, which I think is would have been the right thing to do. But if the asking price was too high, then hey, you got to stick to your gut, stick to your knowledge, stick to your kind of intuition and your feel for what you're okay with. We've seen him before, not be afraid to trade up. So he's traded up for Josh Allen, traded up for Tremaine Edmonds, traded up for Ed Oliver. There's a bunch of guys that he's traded up for since being a GM. So he's not afraid to do it. Obviously, for Josh Allen, you move mountains to get that draft pick. He's not afraid to do it. Just the asking price was too high, and I think that's fair and reasonable. You're not going to trade up to get, Adonai Mitchell, who fell like way further into the second round than anybody really thought. You're not going to want to trade up in the first round to get a wide receiver, like a second round talent. So they avoid having to pay Coleman a lot of money just by getting him in the second round, and maybe he's a first round talent. You know, so I think he did okay, but just that, I think he did just okay. Nothing spectacular. Obviously, not going to want to overpay to draft a Brian Thomas Jr. if you feel that a Keon Coleman is going to provide you the same, and you'll get him in the second round. And already having getting two twos better than having a higher one. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how some of these other guys will look. But I think based on what we've seen so far, I think he did okay. Based on what we've seen so far, it looks like Coleman's going to be a great fit, which is really my biggest takeaway from the draft is that and I'm pretty sure Bean said it as well. They're drafting for character and fit. They wanted guys who fit the locker room. Maybe that's a sign of kind of how bad things were with Diggs in the locker room. That they were, that was their whole draft plan, was finding guys who will fit in the locker room. Maybe they saw how toxic it was, for lack of a better term. Maybe they saw how toxic it was when one guy doesn't want to get along with everybody else, and maybe that's why it's better that we don't have Diggs and Davis in the locker room. But it definitely seemed like with the Dwayne Carter and the Ray Davis and the Van Pran picks, those are kind of like character and fit guys, that they'll fit the scheme, they'll fit the offense, they'll fit the kind of overall swagger of the team and style that we want to play. And just seems like that was his main focus, which is good. If you get a plan as a general manager, before the draft, you got to get a plan, stick to the plan. As they say, you plan the work and then you work the plan. So hats off to him. Did all right by me. So the last little bit that will kind of embarrassed to mention this portion here, but we'll talk a little bit about what I got right and what I got wrong, because what I got wrong was pretty much everything. So if you're a bettor in sports betting at all, maybe take what I say with maybe don't follow what I gotta say, because I said that they were. I said they were going to stay at 28, and I said they were going to pick Brian Thomas Jr., and I said they were going to trade up from the 60th spot. And I think the 60th overall pick, one that they got Cole Bishop with, was the only pick that didn't move around at all through the whole entire weekend. So that wasn't great. Wasn't great by me. So and I had them going after I had them going after Dijon instead of Bishop. So I think in the pick location and the players that they picked, I got very wrong. It kind of is what it is, but I did get a couple things right. Number one, Bean getting his edge rusher and defensive tackle. He got both in this draft. He loves them, man. There's just not much else you can say about it. He absolutely loves drafting that position. I guess it's a good thing. It's always a position of need. There's no harm in getting younger and, faster or whatever. There's no harm in getting younger and better and adding depth to the defensive line. Went out and got a defensive tackle and an edge rusher. I feel like all of Bill's Mafia, that was our worry, is that he was going to pick that position way too high. But you're okay getting that in the third round and in the fifth round. And the other one I got right is that they added depth at pretty much every position. They added depth at, aside from the Keon Coleman, they added depth even through the undrafted free agents. They added depth at wide receiver. Through the draft, they added depth at offensive line. They added depth at the linebacking, the cornerback, safety / special teams guys. So those were kind of the two areas where I was able to make the right prediction. I mean, I feel like that's fairly easy. To say that you're going to add offensive lineman depth, I feel like everybody does that. So I don't think I definitely wasn't too far out on a limb there, but I'm also definitely reaching to try and find something, because I got the main predictions. I got them way wrong. So yeah. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap up there. Like I said, sorry I wasn't able to get out and do much more. Make much more. I didn't have any TikTok or I didn't have much Twitter going on this weekend. I was feeling under the weather. Still trying to battle a little bit of a cough and congestion and stuff like that. But thanks for sticking with me. You guys know where to find me at Mafia Members Pod on all social media, X and Instagram and TikTok, and make sure to like and subscribe and follow along on our YouTube channel. Look for us on Spotify and anywhere else you can get podcasts. And just based on conversations I've had today on X, we're going to end every single episode with "Fuck the Finns." So yeah, Mafia Members Podcast out. Fuck the Finns.